Have you guys heard? George Lucas supports Disney's treatment of Star Wars.
Run for your lives! Everyone run for cover! SOS! Mayday! Mayday! Code Red, duck and cover! You're all in danger! The sky is falling! The sky is falling!
All right. Before all you go and lose your heads over this, let's examine what actually happened here. George Lucas recently gave a statement in support of Bob Iger's regime at Disney. George Lucas said, and I quote, "Creating magic is not for amateurs. When I sold Lucasfilm just over a decade ago, I was delighted to become a Disney shareholder because of my longtime admiration for its iconic brand and Bob Iger's leadership. When Bob recently returned to the company during a difficult time, I was relieved. No one knows Disney better. I remain a significant shareholder because I have full faith and confidence in the power of Disney and Bob's track record of driving long-term value. I have voted all of my shares for Disney's 12 directors and urge other shareholders to do the same." End quote. For those that don't know, Nelson Peltz, a Disney shareholder, has been trying to influence the Disney board for himself over the last year and a half. I'm sure if you've been following these Phantom Menace channels like Midnight's Edge or Clownfish TV, you are all too aware of the Nelson Peltz Disney drama. However, this video is not about that at all. This isn't even a critique of the Phantom Menace itself. This video is all about George Lucas' statement and why it really isn't that bad in the grand scheme of things, much to the chagrin of people like Doomcock, of course. The first point to make about why this statement isn't that big of a deal is a simple one of economics. Disney did not pay George Lucas $4.5 billion in cash money. How mergers and acquisitions work is some of the buyout gets paid out in cash, while the rest of it gets paid out through company stock. It is not in George Lucas's best interest to be bashing Disney Star Wars because he is a shareholder. If Disney stock were to plummet tomorrow, he does get affected by holding onto worthless stock that no one wants. He doesn't want to be Charlie at the end of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
He may pass go, but he doesn't collect the $200 if his Disney stock plummets in value. The second and probably biggest reason for why he gave the statement the way he did is simply because he just doesn't care about Star Wars anymore. In the Charlie Rose interview from 2015 where he compared Disney to white slavers...
All those Star Wars films.
All the Star Wars films.
They were your kids.
Yeah, well, they are right. You know, I loved them. I created them. I'm very intimately involved in them, and obviously to
And
sell
you
them
sold
off,
them.
I sold them to the white slavers that take these things and
Okay, but I mean,
He also talked about how he wanted to go back into experimental films.
but you're George Lucas, and you were ahead of your time with American Graffiti. You were ahead of your time with Star Wars. Have you been ahead of your time since then?
well, you know, I haven't directed a movie since then.
I know that.
Producing, I don't know. I was sort of ahead of my time with Red Tails. You know, an all-black film.
But you're the only person who could have got that made somehow.
Well, I paid for it myself.
Daniel Yellow said-
They wouldn't distribute it. They wouldn't make it. They wouldn't advertise
Because
it.
of racism or because of what?
They just said, the market research says nobody will go to that movie.
There you go.
And in Europe, nobody will go see a
But
film
market
about
research
black
said
people.
nobody would go to Star Wars. Market research may have said no
Well,
one.
but this one was,
Okay.
we know, there is a certain now, over time, a lot of these issues that were just becoming, they were dimly aware of them, have become institutionalized. Now they know that movie will do well in France, this movie will do well in Denmark, this movie you can't do in Asia. And they got their markets, they know how much of the share they get, and they do their little analysis, and then they say, well, we will or will not make the movie. It has nothing to do with what I do, which is make a movie, something that people can enjoy.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with that. I made money in spite of myself. And I think I made money because I didn't care. I didn't care whether it was a hit or not a hit. I wanted to make this movie as a movie. And that's the thing that they won't do. And that they can't do it. It's not in their constitution to do that. I have a fiduciary duty to come up with a thing. I got it 10% a year, my stockholders. That's why I would never go public. And that's why I said, I'm not going to be beholden to anybody. And that's why even now with the company, when I sold it, one of the reasons I sold it was I was starting to make movies that were more personal and were obviously losing a lot of money. And I said, I really can't do this much more because the company will be dragged down. And I had 2,000 employees. So I had people to think about. So I said, the best way to handle this is to sell it and then take the money, put it in a bank account. I call it my yacht because a lot of my friends have yachts. I said, I'm not going to buy a yacht, but I'll take the money that I would use to have a yacht and I'll put it in a bank account.
Right.
And I will use that to make movies that I know are experimental, that I have no way of knowing whether they'll work or not, but I want to see if they work. And that means I don't have to show them to an audience. I don't have to have people.
So when are we going to see that movie?
You're not. You might. But you're in a world now where everything is, well, first of all, those movies, they don't make money. Yeah. And you can't, like Red Tail's perfect example. Not only does it not make money, you can't get anybody to distribute it. You can't get anybody to put any advertising money behind it. You can't, so it loses money no matter how you do it. So why in the world go through all that, get bad reviews, get all the, crazy people yelling and screaming at you? Why not just make the movie for yourself and your friends?
And that's where you are in your life today.
Yeah, I'm
That's
doing
exactly
what I
where you
wanted
are.
to do back when I started.
Why are we settling for just the Charlie Rose interview from 2015? I mean, talk about a lot of recency bias here. There was an interview that he did with CNN back in 2002 when Attack of the Clones was releasing where he admitted that he didn't want Star Wars to outlive him.
You'll turn 60 when you complete the episode 3. Do you want the Star Wars trilogy and the mythology to go beyond your lifetime?
No. I've worked it out to where when I do it, in terms of the films that I'm doing, this will be the next film. 3 will be the last film, and it'll be a 6-part series, and that'll be the end of it.
You're not mentoring someone to take over for you?
No, it's there may be other venues for it, but not in the theatrical release, but for sort of offshoot stories and things and in other areas, but not in theatrical films. I just want to keep that special. I don't want to have it just sort of turn into Star Trek.
That's really the magic of Star Wars. It's in those first 6 movies, the first 6 episodes, and that's it. Nothing afterwards really matters. I'm including both the Clone Wars series from 2003 and 2008 in this as well, along with the Ewoks movie, Star Wars Holiday Special Droids cartoon. You get the picture. Those first 6 movies on their own work as one complete story from beginning to end, even though each movie can work as its own independent story without relying on the previous entries or follow-ups. That's something that you can't really say about modern film franchises anymore. For those of you that are losing your minds and saying that George Lucas sold out, or George Lucas bent the knee, or Star Wars is now truly dead, just remember, Star Wars truly died on October 30th, 2012. Not when The Last Jedi released. George Lucas made his Star Wars series with the first 6 movies, and that was that. That's all there really is to it. If George Lucas's recent comments really hurt your love for the first 6 Star Wars movies, then that's more of a you problem and not anybody else's problem. Separate the art from the artist. The first 6 Star Wars movies were made long before he sold Lucasfilm to Disney. Just pay no attention to the stuff that comes after it because, just like Russell T Davies' return to Doctor Who, it's just being made with the intent to piss you off, so you run to Twitter or YouTube or wherever to talk about it, make 50 to 100 videos on it, blah, 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 blah. The Oscar Wilde school of thought on full display here. The only bad press is when the press is no longer talking about you.